Welcome back to another episode of Artist to Artists, presented by Artist Republic. And more importantly, today, this episode is going to be sponsored by 11 Music Career Center. Our buddies over there at 11 are probably one of the sweetest companies I know of when it comes to making money with your music faster through actually using, real music career coaches to actually give you that competitive edge. With that, you can check them out at turnup211.com. That's turnup211.com, and 2 is actually TO. So yeah, check them out, turnup211.com, get your career coaching. That fits perfectly with Artist Republic. You get coached, then you come to Artist Republic and you bring your career to that next level. So with that, let's get into today of someone actually bringing their career to the next level. So today's guest is Austin Simmon, who is a hip hop artist out of Phoenix, Arizona. He has worked with big independent artists such as our boy j-Wright, Packy, and Crypt. He also has a YouTube channel where he does reaction and reviews on music from rappers' perspectives. He does all of this while also being a fifth grade teacher. Austin's goal through music is to show the world how hard work can accomplish anything, and it's never too late to pursue your dreams. So with that, let's get into it and see what it's all about.
All right, man. So I love to start these things off by just asking the simple question of like, what's your story, right? So just kind of walk us through, where you came from and how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah. So at least, music-wise, my music background, I started rapping in high school. I had a little bit of a background at the time in percussion. I was in marching band and all that good stuff. And I actually met my producer in marching band at the same time. So then we kind of formed our own little rap group. And then I went to college. During that time, I was, still rapping. Kind of became a pretty decently popular, honestly, at NAU. And then eventually I actually stopped rapping because me and my producer kind of got into a little bit of a riff and kind of just started focusing on my career, which ended up being teaching. And honestly, at the time while I was teaching, I was always like, dang, I really want to go back and kind of make music again, but I just didn't know if that was gonna like affect my job because of just the subject matter that I sometimes would talk about. But what was funny was every single year, a student of mine would say, yo, you used to rap. Like they would just find me on YouTube from, my college stuff. And so I would always be like, yeah, that was the old me. I don't know. I don't make music anymore. But then, even my principals would even say they would even mention it. And I'd be like, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. And then, but that went on for 4 years. Literally every year, one student would mention it, and then the whole entire student body would end up knowing that I used to rap. And then eventually, just one of my principals was like, I think you should just rap, and because you clearly were good, and you should just start doing it again. And I was like, all right, I'll do it, but I just don't fire me. And so then I started doing that in 2019. And then ever since then, I've just been doing it really hard. And then, still at the same time and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Well, so first off, you're not the first teacher to be on our podcast who is also a rapper. I think, what was it, the third or fourth podcast we brought
Michael
on?
Waves.
Yeah, Michael Waves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, it's funny. He kind of had the other experience. He's like, I was so sick and tired of my 13-year-old kids in my class, making fun of me. And then I became legit. And then they were like, all right, we give you respect. But yeah, so I guess kind of the first thing that I'm, kind of curious about is, tell me about, because there's definitely other artists that have gone through that of I was doing music and then I went into a career. Now I got back into music. How do you think maybe that helped you or maybe that hurt you? What's kind of your thought process or advice on going through that kind of journey of getting out of it, going back into it, all that kind of stuff that, may help someone else out there?
I would say, so definitely in the beginning, when I was rapping in high school and college, I would listen to music only from an artist's perspective. And I would make music only from like I would make music basically only for myself, if that makes sense. Not thinking about kind of what the listener's experience is. And I think not making music at all, like literally at all for 5 years, I think kind of gave me a different perspective, because now when I make music, I'm thinking from my own artistic view, but then also from a non-artistic view at the same time, which I think has made my music now a whole lot just better than it was back when I was in college and in high school. And also, even though I had the riff with my producer back then, we ended up rekindling. So now, like, it's just a whole lot. It's just, I don't know. I think we both have gotten a lot more mature also. And so now it's beautiful now, the type of music that we make. So I would think my main thing that I would say, like the main plus, is the fact that I have just a different perspective now going in whenever I make a song.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely important. I always think when I listen to music, there's so much music now designed that, and a lot of popular music is designed not in the artist perspective, but in the fan perspective.
Yeah.
Just off the top of the head, you think about why Peaches just blew up. Well, it's a sing back song. There's so many things that are just designed like that, and it works. And when you step outside of that box, you're like, wow, okay, this is why this is done like this, or this is how these people hear my music. So if I hit more on that point, then that's definitely awesome. That was my question. Christian, I'm going to pass that baton back over to you.
Yeah. So, we're talking a lot about your music career and, how things have kind of shaped up for you. And I want to talk a little bit about your YouTube stuff as well. I come from a content background, so this is kind of my area of expertise. So how did you get into YouTube, and, what was kind of like the driving factor to like continue that channel?
Yeah. So for a while, I was just kind of putting music videos and just like, I guess, just a picture with my song on it. And it didn't really do much, because I don't know, I started realizing that if no one knows who you are on YouTube and you're not really like bringing value in any way, you're just putting on music, it's really difficult to be found on YouTube. And so then I started kind of doing some research. I tried like the producer route, where I would just put beats on. It kind of worked, but not really. So then I got to try something new, which was reactions. I found Joey Nato, Crypt, Dwayne TV, No Life Shack, like all those guys. No Life Shack isn't an artist, but the other three were. And so I was like, okay, how are they kind of using reactions as a way for people to end up finding their music? And so I did a bunch of research and then just started doing that, and it worked almost instantly. I think my third reaction got 50,000 views within the first 2 months, I think, of me putting it out. It was an NF reaction. And my goal with it was to, I guess, show listeners kind of what the artist was thinking when they made certain decisions in the song. And I think that like, I guess the educational value really brought interest to my channel. And that ended up kind of getting me to the point where I got a pretty decent amount of subscribers.
And so would you say that, your YouTube following has kind of transferred over to your Spotify and like your streaming services following?
I would say now, at first, because I've only been doing reactions for, I think, 7 months. I haven't been doing it for that long.
I gotcha.
In the beginning, I would say it was pretty difficult for me to like transition those reactor fans over to music. A lot of them were coming in just for reactions. And then I actually, what's funny is I was listening to your guys' Joey Nato interview, where he was saying, where he kind of just started just spamming his music on like a bunch, like basically throughout his videos, and he would pin a comment, I guess, for his Spotify. So then I started doing that, and I really like it. It instantly I started seeing a shift almost immediately.
Wow.
And I did an artist rebrand almost like the day after I heard that podcast, where it was instead of I did instead Teacher Reacts, I did rap artists react, so that, because I started thinking like maybe the reaction audience doesn't see me as an artist, they see me as a teacher who does rap, but instead I wanted them to think of me being a rapper that teaches. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's cool.
And huge plug there, listen to artist podcasts, and you might just blow up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So,
and then another thing with me is like the big thing with that channel is like that I've noticed is when I go in depth on what the artist is thinking of, or like how the artist did what they did on the song, that's like when those are usually the videos that usually do really well, because the art, not only are, I guess, artists who are listening to or watching the reaction, they get something out of it, but then just the casual listener will get something out of it too as well.
Yeah, and then you cast a wide net for who could potentially listen to your music as well. And I know, at least in this day and age, you find a lot of people who are actively working towards a career in music who also are like super fans of other artists. And if you can kind of cast that net onto YouTube, you're going to be able to pull a very large amount of people, rather than just trying to promote it through your social media where it's just like fans, or somewhere else where it's just other artists. So it's pretty interesting. But I think YouTube is a really great vehicle for marketing, for independent artists in particular. I think, like you or Joey Nato, like you guys are kind of leading the way and figuring out, how can I creatively market myself while also providing value to other people.
Exactly. Yeah.
And YouTube is only getting bigger too. It kind of went through phases. It was kind of like when, I remember talking to actually j-Wright about it. He was like, yeah, when I first started, YouTube was huge. And then it kind of, died. And then it's now coming back. It's like, yo, you should use YouTube. So it's kind of interesting to watch that. And I think that kind of leads into my next question is, obviously, as a music artist, you have so many social channels to choose from. And so, how do you, set yourself on YouTube, or how does one person set themselves on TikTok or Instagram Reels or just Instagram feeds? Like, how do you know which social network to choose that you're going to go all in on, and like that's going to be your social network to drive fans?
Yeah. I was kind of at an advantage because of the fact that like my students all use YouTube. And so I was like, well, I now know what I should probably be using, because not only do adults use YouTube, but kids use YouTube. So like, that's probably going to be my widest audience that I could reach. It was a pretty calculated decision. Before I really started focusing on YouTube, my only focus was Spotify and Instagram, which honestly did help, because then when I went into YouTube, I still kind of had a following on Instagram and on Spotify that I could, I didn't have to worry about, okay, well, like, why is my YouTube not translating over to Spotify? Like, I still had that audience still there. But what I usually will do is I'll kind of pick one, I guess, platform, focus on it until I get to the number of followers that I feel like is good. And then I'll kind of move on to the next one while still providing content regularly to the whatever I feel like I've mastered. So like right now, I feel like I've done pretty well on YouTube. So now I've been kind of trying to get into TikTok. TikTok is, you have to be super consistent with it. And, some days I'm just like, dang, like I wasn't able to get, a video on TikTok, or, you know what I mean? And so with YouTube, like, as long as you get, well, at least for me, as long as I get one in a day, I'm good with the consistency. So I'm still trying to learn how to get TikTok nice. But yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but
no, that's on point. And I think going off of a point you said there too, about like, you were able to really focus on YouTube because you already had Spotify and Instagram set up. And I think that's another good point, is like, in the marketing world, when you're building a fan base, there is those kind of, main networks and tertiary networks where it's like, Spotify and Instagram have really become like, these are my home bases where like my super fans are.
Yeah.
And then, you're not going to, when you post on your feed, you're not going to reach really new people. So it's like, okay. And when you post a new song, unless you're advertising it, you're not going to reach new people. And so then it's like, where do the advertising networks come in? And that's like, okay, now that I got my home base set up, I'm going to go advertise on YouTube and use that to reach new people. I'm going to go advertise on TikTok to reach new people. And I think, a lot of people miss that step and they just post on Instagram and they're like, yo, my new song's up, check it out. Yeah. And it's like, but where's the advertising? You can't just advertise to those same people over and over and over again. You need to continuously add new people to that network. And then the question comes in is, where are you adding people from that?
Yeah. That's a really good way to think about it. I never even thought about that. Like Instagram being like a home base. Like that is very true.
Boom.
Really think about it,
Mic drop. Everyone listening, you just got valuable knowledge today. But yeah, no, that's definitely a good kind of area. But also breaking off of that point, Christian, I think it's time for a lightning round.
Ooh, we haven't done one of these in a little bit. Let's try.
We haven't done one of these in a while, and I think it is time. So basically, we're gonna hit you with random ass questions that we find on the internet, and you just got to answer them with the first things that come to your mind.
All right.
So the first question that I'm gonna ask is, if I was to be with you for an entire 24 hours, what is one thing that I would hear the most?
You would hear my dog barking a lot. And you would hear me yelling probably in my studio because my reactions, I get pretty animated. I'm not gonna lie.
Hell yeah.
All right, so here's a pretty controversial one. Your fans might not be fans after you answer this. I don't know. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely not. So here's my thing with just fruit in general. I actually don't eat fruit at all. It's just vegetables. That's like all, like vegetables and chicken. It's like all I eat.
All right. Well, we're gonna get very controversial over here. Going off of that, then, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Ooh, okay. I saw this question like a month ago, and it blew my mind because it is. It is a sandwich. It's all. I mean,
it's just a sideways sandwich.
Yeah, meat inside of bread. That's what it is. Sideways.
It's a sideways sandwich.
Yeah.
What is the most delightful word that you can think of?
Delightful word that I can think of. You know what? I'm gonna go with growth.
Growth?
That's just in any situation, that's literally a positive. So
I like that.
Growth.
Yeah.
Deal. All right, Christian. Well, I got my last question. I don't know if you're gonna follow this up or anything, because this is a really good question.
All right.
And I'm following with the theme of controversial. Is water wet?
Ooh.
Okay, so I go back and forth on this question quite a bit. Right now, I'm gonna go with yes, water is wet, because water. Well, I don't know. I go back and forth on that because I'm wet if I'm surrounded by water, but water is water, so I don't know if that means that it's wet or not.
Is it like two wets make a dry? Is that the kind of math we're dealing with here? I think in this question, because a dry plus a wet equals a wet, but is two wets plus a wet equal a dry? We don't know.
I think I saw a TikTok when this question became really popular, and I'm pretty sure that the thesis was that water is scientifically dry based on the makeup of the molecules or some shit. I don't even know, but
probably. When it's on something, it makes it wet.
I think that's what he was saying.
You're dry if you're not surrounded by water, but if you are water, then you're surrounded by dryness. So technically, water would be dry.
Yeah,
I think that's exactly what the guy was.
Locked in answer: water is not wet.
Water is dry.
Okay,
there it is.
If there is anyone controversial, I want comments. I want answers. I want math. I want actual scientific explanations for why water is not wet if you don't, or is wet if you don't, if you disagree with us of our statement that water is not wet.
Yeah.
So with that, let's get back into the episode, diving into whether water is wet or not. Let's dive into, I'm trying to think of something is something, but I can't think of that. Let's dive into what you have plans of the fact that hopefully, fingers crossed, this past year is behind us and the music industry is back. Let's see how long it's back for, but it's back. And so, being an independent artist, obviously we all know that 90% of revenue that we all make in the independent artist world is not from streaming. And so most of it is getting back on shows, selling merch, bringing that whole side of the artist side in. Being a teacher, though, obviously that's tough. So, what's kind of, your game plan and, your kind of story of how you think you're going to, kind of conquer live shows, merchandising, stuff like that, and that whole side of being an artist?
Yeah. So actually, I have listened to a couple of Michael Wave's podcasts, podcasts that he's been on, because of the fact that he is like we are doing almost the exact same thing. And so, and I know that he kind of gained his fan base off of shows. I kind of started getting momentum right when COVID really hit. So I've only done like one show since like really starting to get back into music. And so I kind of look at that as a plus because now, again, I now have that core fan base a little bit. And then now once I kind of get on the road and I figure that out, then I can, maybe even expand that even more. But I remember Michael Waves was talking about how he takes advantage of the amount of breaks that he gets. Because, right now I'm not working. And then we also get winter breaks, spring breaks. So we do have opportunities to, utilize our breaks to, tour and kind of get on the road. I just need to figure out exactly how I'm going to tackle that. But so that's like for live shows and things like that. And then for, I guess, future like collaborations, now we can finally like be in the same place. I can finally travel to somebody if I, like for instance, like j-Wright. I recently did a song with him. We both kind of co-own the song. I think it would have been cool if we worked in the same place on the song, but we had to do it all remotely. But COVID kind of taught all of us how to do like a lot of things remotely. Like now there's just so much that I've learned from just because of the fact that I couldn't do a lot of the things that I probably would have done differently if COVID never happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think so in that world, obviously being in the studio with someone is way better. But what kind of is your advice of like some things you learned of like how to still make music even though remote? Because I think there's a huge value in remote. Now you can make, if you're comfortable with that, you can make music with someone from Nigeria or Norway, or I don't know why I'm naming ends. But you can make music from anywhere. And so, what's kind of a couple of things that you learned from that you think are helpful when making music remote?
Yeah. Well, just the fact that we have like technology is just so incredible now that there's really no excuse when it comes to getting your music out there. And because like for me, minus Facebook ads, I would say that collaboration has been like one of the biggest like reasons why I've gained at least the fan base that I have right now. And so technology is here to help. It's a good resource. And so with that being said, it's smart to reach out to people, especially like if, like you said, like other countries, like that's a whole fan base that can be tapped in to where I'm still in my house. You know what I mean? Like I think right now I have a song with the guy. I think his name is Michael Bars. I'm pretty sure he's from the Philippines, and I now have access to that entire country or his fan base is from that country because of technology. Literally, we talked almost exclusively on Instagram and figured out how to do a song that way. So,
Yeah, no, I get that. I think there was actually someone that Michael Waves connected me with that was totally from another country, and he was like, I can't hop on a call because I can't speak English. He's like, but I can type English. He's like, so let's do business here. And I was like, all right, homie, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I definitely think you're on point with that. There's a lot to learn, but a lot of benefits from that.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
I think the way that the world has become since COVID, like it or not, a lot of things are moving remote, and uh, that is not an exception from music, right? So there's so many markets in the world that an artist can get into. All they have to do is know the right people. And like you with this guy in the Philippines, right? That's a whole country, that's a whole market that a lot of American artists probably don't have access to, and now you do. Um,
Yeah.
and that's really cool. I'm like genuinely curious though. This is a complete sidebar from the previous conversation. Do
Okay.
you or have you ever integrated your music skills into your teaching?
Yes. We had to like at one point do like our own club. Like each teacher had to do our own club. So I did a hip hop club. Had to do
Oh,
that. That
cool.
was like, yeah, the kids, they were asking. They were like, "This is like you have to do a hip hop club." I was like, "All right, I got you." And like every kid has an iPad, and so all the iPads have they have a GarageBand on there. So since I use Logic, it's basically like it's just a watered down version of Logic. So I was able to teach them how to use that. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That's really cool.
That is really
Yeah.
cool. And that's teaching music skills to kids who wouldn't have had it beforehand.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually really sweet. Um,
Who doesn't like making music?
Exactly.
right. um, and when you emailed me, Austin, I think one thing that you had mentioned was like wanting to talk about like how you provide value, right? So I want to ask, what is your kind of philosophy on that? How do you, as an artist, as a teacher, as a human being, provide value to the people that listen to you and the people around you?
Yeah. So providing value is a big part of someone's brand. I think that like your brand is kind of very closely associated with the value that you bring, and the on and not like how you, I guess, affect the audience that you're trying to reach. For me, a lot of my music is based off of like hard work and proving people wrong. I mention that a lot in my songs. Um, and that's just from just the content of my actual music standpoint, but even with like the different avenues that I've used on social media, like my reactions, I count that as providing value because of just the things that I talk about in those reactions. um, it's not just me just saying, oh, that was cool in a song. Like honestly, like 90% of reactors do. I will dive deep into the song and like explain kind of just the different aspects of the lyrics, the the mixing, sometimes the production. And so not only are listeners and fans, I don't like to say fans, I like to say supporters listening to my music for just motivation, I guess, but then also if they're going on my Instagram or my YouTube, they're learning something as well. So in pretty much all aspects of what I release, I want them to get something out of it, and it's not just them listening to me rapping my ass off.
Right. You're a teacher through and through.
Yeah.
Um, cool, man. Well, we are getting towards the end of our time here. So I want to ask you the famous last question, and that is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your supporters or, any new supporters that might come from this episode?
Yeah. Actually, I have two, right? So one is so my first, because I've been basically releasing music for 2 years. Now I'm finally starting to see a little bit of a profit from it. Um, and the first year I made a lot of mistakes, like going through playlists or trying to outsource some of my money towards marketing to third parties. I would say don't do that because you can't trust those companies, and try your hardest to get the most organic audience that you possibly can, like the most organic way that you can possibly do it. And I think that that's like kind of catapulted my career to the point where it's at now, um, especially like through my YouTube reactions, but then also Facebook ads is huge to me. And I got the idea from that actually from j-Wright. He was talking about it and how like he amassed a pretty big following on Spotify because of his Facebook, partially because of his Facebook ads. And so I really started to learn how to do that. I would say to look up Andrew Southworth or Tom Dupree. Their YouTube videos really going in depth on how to do those effectively. And then also, so that's one of them. But then my second one is learn as many skills as you possibly can so that you don't have to go through someone else for something if you don't have to. And what I mean by that is like graphic design. If you can learn how to do graphic design, learn how to do it so that then you don't have to pay somebody else for it. Producing, even though I have other producers, I know how to produce. And so if I just, really want to just get something out, I can just do it. And then also obviously the marketing aspect of things. So if you can try to learn as many things as you possibly can, because all of that information is online, and then do it. Yeah.
I love that. Nick, you're muted.
Yeah, I know I was. I agree with that. And, I was actually talking with a buddy the other day, there's a lot of sketchy companies out there. Like, be careful where you go. At the end of the day, you do have to market and you do have to do stuff. And you can't just put a picture out and say, hey, check my link in my bio. Yeah. But you got to make sure, you're going through right companies and you're going through, companies that are really, providing value. I was actually on a meeting this morning, building a partnership for our Republik of like something that's going to provide so much value. And I said that to the vendor. I was like, look, at the end of the day, I just want to provide value. If we can provide value to artists and build a legit resource, let's do it. And there's not a lot of companies out there that think like that. And so when you go through that marketing, for anyone listening, definitely be careful of who you go with. You can always message Artist Republic on Instagram. We will tell you if another company is legit or not. And yes, we have said that some of our competitors are legit. So we will give you unbiased reviews. Yeah. So with that, Austin, I can't thank you enough for hopping on. For anyone out there, if you like this episode, as you know, there's a lot of value that is delivered in this. Please give us a 5-star rating. It'd be great. And don't forget to check out one of our best friends and sponsors with 11 to have all your career coaching, all that stuff like that to get real value. Because as we said, there's a lot of sketchy people out there, so you can get some real value. Career coaching is great, especially for music professionals. And with that, we'll see you guys next week.
I'm going so high, my feet are off of the ground, and I'll be gone for a minute, don't know when I'm coming down. I'm like, okay, I'm the baddest, so it's a fact. So on the low, I'm cold-blooded like a red bandana in the snow. Never hateful, embracing the journey until I break through. I see the amount of my growth and always thankful. So stay tuned for all of you niggas in the way. You a square like the stop button I press when they play. You a monster, rock bottles to the face. I'm lit, I'm flames with it. I came for the fame and chips, and so if you hating shit, I ain't taking it. I'll call your mom just to tell her, hey, you raised a bitch. Can't leave rapping alone, the game needs me. They see me as a Mac, cause I never keep it PC.
I'ma do my thing till they know me. I'm getting paper, getting lady with my homies. I'm trying to get it right now, never slowly. And this ain't poker, so I'm never folding. Ay,
yo, I'm going so high, my feet are off of the ground, and I'll be gone for a minute, don't know when I'm coming down. I'm like, whoa.
Yo, understand I'm wrong with it, and they gotta come to me, I gotta go get it.
Yo, I'm going so high, my feet are off of the ground, and I'll be gone for a minute, don't know when I'm coming down. I'm like, whoa.
Yo, understand I'm wrong with it, and they gotta come to me, I gotta go get it.
Yeah, I'm on my way, dog, step by step. Go out, put in the work, come back, collect my debts. I grew up with less, so when I'm out here struggling, I don't get upset. I just give it my all, let God do the rest. Cause if you live in your truth, who's left to impress? I remember doing press out in Budapest. Pretty bitches in my hotel say, Derek, you the best. Ain't nothing new to flex. I got a few regrets along the way. I'm just searching for that true success, that clout shit lasts a day. Go crazy for these tracks, I'm a basket case. Pandemic proof to always be a bag to chase. That's why I go get it. I hear you talking, but you just don't live it. We are oh so different. But I ain't even worried about it. Keep my mind clouded, living in the sky, cause it's less
Yo, I'm
crowded.
going so high, my feet are off the